as I look back over my life and think about things that didn't go so well as things that did, I puzzle a lot about what happened to my father in his 60s when we got a new minister in my hometown for the Episcopal Church. And my dad had become very prominent in the missionary district of Eastern Oregon of the Episcopal Church and had become the chancellor, which is lawyer for the bishop. If you've seen the play King Henry VIII, you're all over what a chancellor is. Cardinal Wolsey was Henry VIII's legal advisor, who eventually wasn't able to pull off the maneuver that Henry VIII wanted to get rid of Catherine of Aragon because she wasn't able to get him a male heir. And Wolsey went to the Pope to get a dispensation to dump her so he could marry Anne Boleyn, who somewhere along in there he'd gotten pregnant. Anyway, my dad, I digress, but my dad was heavily involved in interviewing and selecting a new minister for Hood River. And they came upon a man named Bert Allen, who I'm not going to malign him too much now, but he is dead. And he had, as part of his work resume, being a used car salesman. He'd never gone to seminary like most Episcopal priests do, but he was a very articulate, charming, enthusiastic, shall I say, charismatic man. And everybody was very taken by him. But Dad got him to promise during the employment interview that he would, within the first year of being the priest for Hood River, visit every family in their home that were congregants, they call it, or in the church. Dad wanted to get more members. He could see there's a joke, you can't speak badly of the Episcopal Church because you can't speak badly of the dying. It's a very small group, generally speaking, in everywhere. So anyway, he wanted to get more people in, spread the word. And Bert Allen promised. So at the end of that first year he was there, Dad got uneasy. He didn't sense that this was happening. So one fine day, rather than going to Bert Allen saying, Bert, how are you doing on your promise? Do you need some encouragement? Can you give me a report card? Which families have you visited? No. Didn't do any of that. Just went to a vestry meeting. The vestry is like a council for in the Episcopal Church that has power to hire and fire with the consent of the bishop. And he polled them in front of Bert Allen. First he said, well, Bert, have you been to all the families in the congregation now this first year? Oh, yes, Tunis, I have. Oh. And then Dad polled, like polling the jury, and asked one after another, and he hadn't. He hadn't been there. So at that point, Bert Allen, in my dad's world, was a goddamn liar. And I'm sorry to use such rough language, but to be historically accurate, I have to, because that's the world my dad lived in. And I've always wondered where he got that. I know he got part of it by being the prosecuting attorney for 9 years in Hood River in his 40s. But where did it come from behind that? Yes, he had to indict people. And when I went to law school and they started teaching me what an indictment was, I immediately knew what that was, because there were certain things that you've got to check off that there's enough evidence to create beyond a reasonable doubt if you had to go to a jury, or probable cause if you were deciding to arrest and indict. Well, the indictment is you violated this, you violated that, this, that. It's a list. And once you get to the list, it's bingo, we got you. that's an indictment. And so when my dad would get mad at me, he'd ask me a few questions and tick off on his list the things that I'd failed. And then it was, rah, 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 you, blah, blah. He didn't call me names. He just got angry, and stormed around and stomped around and just frightened me. I wasn't afraid he was going to hit me. He never did. But I was scared of him. He was 6'2" and big, powerfully built guy. So he had this tendency. And what I've wondered is, where did he get that? I think he got it somewhere even before he became a prosecuting attorney. That's my opinion. And from listening to him talk with his mother, in her later years, she lived by a main street through this tiny town of White Salmon where she lived. And when you go over there to visit, Dad and Grandma would watch cars drive by, and they say, "Oh yeah, that's so-and-so Jones. And yeah, they still got that place up there by the creek or something," and gossiped about him. And it was frequently pretty negative and pretty judgmental. So I kind of think he got it from his mom, because he didn't get it from his dad. His dad was a very affable, tolerant Dutchman. But it really ended up screwing my dad because he condemned the minister for misrepresenting that he'd been to every family in the church, and that he broke his promise that he would do that in the first year. I'm going to break this now and do a follow-up so it doesn't become too long.